I went to a 2 day seminar last week, and while it was a seminar that was focused on a specific industry sector, there was a lot of talk about personal development and mindset as well. And I came away from the seminar, as I always do, feeling rejuvenated, because it's great to be in an environment where you've got lots of positive people in a room. And there was a few things that really stood out to me, and I wanted to share some of those ideas with you today and mix them with a few other things, and just share them with you as some thoughts that will hopefully be useful to you. Now, these are not things that you've never come across before. I'm pretty sure that none of this is going to be new to you, but hopefully, as it was for me, there'll be some great reminders in there. The main speaker at the event was Dr. Tom Barrett, and he was talking about leadership. And as I've already said, this was really focused on a particular industry, but the stuff that Tom talks about goes way outside that industry, and it's applicable to everybody in life. And one of the things that he said, one of his phrases, is that all leaders need the 3 T's. And actually, we're all leaders in our own life. Whether we've got people that we lead in a work situation or not, we are leaders. We're leading ourselves. So actually, the 3 T's are applicable to everybody. I used to do a lot of business networking, and there was a phrase that came up a lot, which was you need to spend time working on your business, not just in your business. And I didn't understand that at first, but I got to understand it over a period of time. And using an example of somebody who is a plumber, while they're fixing taps or fitting radiator systems, they're working in their business. They're doing the day-to-day activity of that business. But if they want to build a successful business, they need to sometimes step outside of that and spend time thinking about things like, do they want to be a one-man band? Do they want to grow into a company and have employees? If so, how many? What sort of size of company do they want to grow to? What's their customers' perception of them at the moment, and is it the right one? Is their marketing working? How many hours a week do they want to work? How much money do they want to earn? So how much do they need to charge? And these are all the things that they need to think about in order to run a business. And anybody who's running a business needs to sometimes step outside of it and ask themselves these kind of questions. And it's not just true in business either, it's true in life. We need to spend time not just being in our lives, but working on our lives as well. And that's what the basis of life coaching is all about. And I'm not suggesting that if you don't have a life coach, you need to go out and get one. What I'm suggesting is if you're not already your own life coach, it would be a good idea to become that person. And the 3 T's, by the way, the 3 T's that all leaders need, and actually everybody needs, is simply time to think. Pretty obvious, isn't it? But I would hazard a guess that most people don't take time out of their busy schedule to create time to think. And you notice there that I used the word create time to think. I'm not talking about having a quick think about things on your drive to work. I'm not talking about when you have a little bit of time next week, perhaps when you're less busy, you can spend some time thinking about your life. Because that doesn't happen, does it? Everybody's got full lives, and if you just wait until you've got a quiet moment to do this, I promise you it will never happen. So one of the other speakers was talking about the importance of making an appointment with yourself. And we make appointments with other people all the time, don't we? We make appointments to go to work. Maybe we don't write it in the diary, but that is a fixed and recurring appointment for a lot of people. We make appointments with our customers. We make appointments to go and see our family. But do you make time? Do you make appointments to go and see, to spend time with yourself and create this time to think? So the first thing you need to do is get out your diary and figure out when you are going to do this. And you need to put it in there as the highest priority appointment, an appointment that will not get cancelled. It's not an appointment that I'll put it in there and if something more important comes up, I'll go and do that instead, because this is the most important thing. So once you make this appointment with yourself, you must keep it. Great, so you've got the appointment now, and the next question is, where are you going to do this? A couple of little tips for you is the first thing, don't do this in your car on the way to work. Don't do this sitting in your favourite chair. You need to get out of your day-to-day environment to do this. If you spend a lot of time looking out of that window, at the very least, be looking out of that window while you're thinking about this. If you can get to a park to do this, if you can go and sit in a coffee shop, or if you can sit in a different part of the house where you don't normally sit, that is so much better. If you spend your time thinking in the place where you do all of your thinking, you will just get the same thoughts over and over again. So getting yourself in a different environment will stimulate different thoughts, and that's what this is all about. The next consideration is, how long should you be blocking off to do this? And how long do you think I'm going to say here? And would it surprise you when I say let's start with 2 hours? And I know for some people, when I say that, the initial reaction is, really, 2 hours? I can't find 2 hours in my busy schedule. The first question you need to ask, if that's your reaction, is that actually true, or is that a knee-jerk reaction? Can you genuinely not find 2 hours in the next 2 weeks where you can find some time for the most important person in your life? And for some of you, the answer is no. If that's true, if you genuinely can't find 2 hours, then ask yourself the question, is it healthy to be living a life that's so hectic and so full? It's okay on a short-term basis, but if that's how you live your life constantly, is that healthy? Now, if you genuinely can't find 2 hours, then block an hour off. If you genuinely can't find an hour, then block half an hour off, because it's better to do something than to do nothing. But don't make this easy on yourself. Don't block an hour because it's more convenient than 2. Do everything that you can to find 2 hours to do this. And once you've done this process once, then you can start to gauge what's the optimum time for you to be going through this process. Because for some people, it will be better to do 2 hours once a month, and to other people, it will be better to do 45 minutes every week. That's something that you'll just figure out for yourself as you go along. So the moment arrives, you've blocked off the time in the diary, you've found your place to do it. What are you going to do? And I'm not going to give you a formula for what to do with this time, because the more that you figure out the best way for you, the more beneficial it's going to be. But here's a few ideas that you could get started with. Basically, asking questions is the most powerful thing you can do, because it frees the mind, it gets you thinking in different ways. Now, one of the most useful general purpose questions, it's a question that starts many a coaching session, and it's simply, what would you like to think about today? Another way of asking the same kind of question is, what do I want? Or ask yourself, what's going well in my life at the moment? What do I want more of? What do I want less of? And if I could only have one of those two, if I could have more of that or less of that, which one would I take? And what can I do? What steps can I take to start moving towards that? You could use this time to work on your goals. Now, you probably have a set of written goals already, maybe goals for the future and goals that you're working on right now. And if you have that, and if you haven't, it's a great thing to do. Reading your goals aloud to yourself every day is a great thing to do, because it keeps you focused and it keeps you motivated. But this time to think can be a great time to be reviewing your goals. Now, if you probably know that if you travel on an aeroplane, pilots don't fly aeroplanes anymore. Autopilot flies aeroplanes. And 90% of the time you are off course. Only a very slight amount, but the autopilot knows you want to go in that direction. And then the wind affects things a little bit, and the air pressure affects things a little bit, and you get blown off course. And so the autopilot's job is to continually be checking out, am I going in the right direction that's going to get me where I want to be? And if not, it's all about course correction. It's all about minute little course corrections, all of the way you literally zigzag your way to your destination. And it can be the same with our goals as well. We set our goals, and it seems like the right thing to do at the time, and then we start taking a little step. And once we're actually in that, it can be a great thing to evaluate from time to time. Actually, is this the right goal? Because we have a final destination, but is this goal, is this milestone the right thing that's going to get me there? So this time could be a little bit about course correction on your goals. And possibly my favourite use of this time is for journaling. Now, there's lots of different ways of journaling. I'm talking about a very specific way here, because sometimes, genuinely, with the best will in the world, you can set your 2 hours aside, you can get into this environment, you can ask yourself the question, what do I want to think about today? And sometimes genuinely nothing comes to you. What can be a great thing to do is get yourself some sheets of paper, and then you make a bargain with yourself that you can write anything that you want to on that piece of paper, because at the end of it, you're either going to shred it, or you're going to burn it, or going to tear it into little pieces. So you can write anything about anybody, it doesn't matter, because they're never going to get to read it. And the idea is, what you really want to be doing is connecting pen to brain so that you're not thinking about things, you're just writing. Now, the way to start doing that, it's quite tricky to say, right, I'm just going to connect pen to brain. It doesn't quite work like that. It's a process that you kind of just drift into. But for me, the best way is to just start writing. And sometimes that will literally be, what am I going to write about today? There's nothing coming into my mind. I don't know what to write about. I feel a bit silly doing this. And literally anything that comes into my head, I'm just writing down on that piece of paper. It could be a flash of, oh, suddenly I'll get a memory about a cat I saw yesterday and I write that down. It's not important because what you're doing is you're connecting your thoughts to the pen. And after a short while, you find that you just start writing. And once you get going, it's actually very hard to stop because it's almost like doing a brain dump from here onto that piece of paper. And write for as short or long as you feel comfortable in doing. And once you've done that, have a read through it, and that will tell you exactly what you need to be thinking about today. The single most important thing that you need to do in each of these time to think sessions happens at the end of the session. And that is, you get out your diary and you put the next appointment in. And I don't know for you whether that will be in a week's time, 2 weeks' time, or a month's time. It's not so important. What is important that it goes in the diary as a priority one commitment. Because if you don't do it now, you will forget about it and it will never end up in the diary. Now, you make time in your life to catch up with friends. You make time to go to work. You make time to do your shopping. You make time to see family at Christmas that you only see once a year. So what this is all about is making time in your busy schedule for the most important person in your life. And once you start to do this, you're going to see amazing benefits really quickly.